So my name is Randy Kring. I'm the chair of the Concord Board of Health. I welcome everyone to this emergency meeting of the Board of Health today on Saturday, September 14th, 7 p.m. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. So the agenda was circled out or sent out in advance of the meeting. Because we're on Zoom, actually, I'll do a quick roll call of the Board of Health members present. So I'm, again, Randy Kring, the chair of the Board of Health. Why don't you go ahead, Jim?
Jim Whalen, Board of Health.
Dottie?
Dottie Bernard, Board of Health.
Thank you. Portia?
Portia Katie, Board of Health.
And Kurt?
Kurt Herman in attendance, Board of Health.
Excellent. All right. So we have all 5 members of the Board of Health present. And Melanie, if you could introduce yourself as well.
Yes, I'm Melanie Deneen. I'm the Director of Public Health.
Excellent. All right. And I see, yes, we have many members of the community present as well. Thank you all for being here for this important meeting. So we'll go ahead and Melanie, if you are able to give kind of a quick introduction to the issue at hand, that would be excellent.
Okay, so we participate in the North Middlesex Mosquito Control District, where we have monitoring early in the season larvicide treatment of mosquito species. We received word from our mosquito control district superintendent and really on Thursday that we had positive mosquitoes. So mosquitoes that had been tested on 9/5 and 9/10 both tested positive for Triple E. I have with me tonight Tony. He is our entomologist that represents us at this mosquito control district. And I'll ask him to weigh in a little bit. So with that, the town commenced with a meeting with the town manager's office, and we did on Thursday night spray a synthetic pesticide around the perimeter in the vegetation area of both the Rideout Park and Emerson Field. I don't know what else to say. That on Friday, I reached out to the state for inquiry and guidance, and they raised us to a high risk for Triple E.
And just if I can interject briefly, so for kind of full kind of discussion, just a little background on Triple E itself. I'll read from the Massachusetts Arbovirus Surveillance and Response Plan from 2024 from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, just again for record on the meeting here. So we're all kind of aware of what we're discussing here. So their background paragraph on Eastern equine encephalitis virus, a serious disease which occurs sporadically in Massachusetts with 30 to 50% mortality, lifelong neurologic disability among many survivors, presents with symptoms of fever, stiff neck, headache, and lack of energy, which can progress to encephalitis, which is swelling of the brain. There's no treatment for Triple E. In Massachusetts, approximately half of the people identified with Triple E have died from the infection, and people who survive from the disease will often be permanently disabled due to neurologic damage. So just wanted to share that as background, just to be explicit with everyone about why, of course, we're having this emergency meeting of the Board of Health and why we're discussing taking action on it. So Melanie, anything to add on that? Sorry to interject there, but it's important to share.
That's perfectly fine. Tony, did you want to speak a little bit about the mosquitoes and with your experience as an entomologist?
Sure. The 2 species that they found in Concord were Aedes vexans, and that was the property near Hanscom, and Culex salinaris, which was actually my backyard. So my backyard is one of the testing sites, and they're very, very different. And the differences in behavior probably have a bearing on what kind of policies you choose to go ahead with, because Aedes vexans is a day biter. They are active. They probably prefer a little bit of shady areas, and they come out in the open more when it's like cloudy, but they're active during the daytime. The Culex salinaris, on the other hand, is a night biter. So they become active at sunset and they're active all night. So again, very different policy implications. There's some mosquitoes that tested positive earlier in the year that their populations have faded now, so they're not an issue. Those are the ones that came up positive in some other towns. There's also a mosquito that they also found in my backyard called Culiceta melanura, which is the main amplification vector. That's the mosquito that mainly bites birds early in the season, and so that's how the virus gets amplified in the avian population. So that's just some background on the mosquito aspect. One thing I might mention also is that every day, because it's been so dry, and it's going to stay pretty dry. The problem is getting smaller with every passing day, and it'll be a drastic reduction when we have our first hard freeze. So we're losing about 5 to 10% of the mosquito population every day just from natural mortality. So it is getting smaller, the issue, but there's still risk, obviously. So
Excellent. Thank you for that helpful information. So returning to our agenda for this evening. So kind of the two main topics that we need to discuss as a board are authorization for the health director to sign emergency waivers for spraying to be done at the schools. And then secondly is our decision as a board for recommendation for closure of outdoor activities. So to get to the first topic, Melanie, can you speak a little bit about what we would be deciding as far as authorizing you to sign the waivers?
Correct. So the public schools and the private schools must comply with Childhood Protection Act that controls the use of pesticides around school properties. But in case of need, the schools can apply for what's called an emergency waiver to apply pesticide. That emergency waiver must be signed by the agent of the Board of Health. So both a number of our private schools and our public schools are looking to do the similar spraying that we did on Thursday night in the 2 town properties in perimeter areas. And they're looking to commence with that on Monday, but I need to sign the emergency waiver in order for that to happen. And I would like the Board of Health to weigh in on that.
Great.
And I guess my recommendation is that you give it the approval for me to do that.
So I'll speak first as chair with my thoughts, kind of reviewing everything here. I think it's very reasonable to spray to approve the health director to spray the properties, the schools, as a means of diminishing the risk to the students. I'd first open up discussion to the board for any thoughts or questions.
Melanie, this is Kurt. The scope of the authorization would include both public and private schools?
That's what I'm requesting. Yes, they fall under the same law.
Okay.
Are we going to extend that to, additionally, I know that we've done some park spraying already, but is it going to be all parks also, or any recreational fields?
So that is not the first agenda item. We can talk about that. At this time, there isn't a plan for additional spraying unless the board would like to proceed with that. We've sprayed the chemical that we used. It's good for until the end of the year. It's good for, it's going to have its protective until until next year. So the next 30 days. So we're not going to spray those same properties again, and there is not currently additional properties on the list to spray.
Is
What
Jarrah
about
Park?
stormwater drains and sewer drains and standing water locations?
So the larvicide is done for the year. There's no more larvicides treatment. Part of the outreach and recommendation is for everyone in their own homes to remove standing water, right? To review your property and where you can, remove standing water.
This
Tony?
is This is Dot. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any pushback about spraying or people opting out, getting on that state database to try to opt out for spraying of their property or near their property?
So I have received feedback from both sides, I would say. I've received requests for people for me to get on and spray more, and I've received feedback from folks to say, please don't spray at all. So I have seen feedback from both sides in the public. So I guess the spraying that we've done and we are currently planning to do is on Joe's public high use areas for people who have outdoor activities, for outdoor athletic and recreational activities. I'm not currently, and I don't want to jump, I want to stick on this agenda. So I guess I feel like I want to look authorization, just sign the waivers, spray around the schools, and then we can maybe talk about the other steps, the board. Is that fair?
Yep.
Tony, go ahead.
Just had some clarification on the larval breeding habitats of the two positive species of mosquitoes. Neither are residential in nature. Aedes vexans is found on river floodplains and wet areas that flood during rains. And so not really artificial containers or anything like that.
Okay.
And Culex salinarius is found on swampy areas with decaying vegetation. So like the closest habitat I could think of near my house is there's a curve in the Assabet River near Damon Mill, and there's like a marshy area there. It's probably a likely habitat, but really neither are found in sewers or residential standing water. So.
Thank you. That's helpful. Any
Is
other?
the spraying targeted at both types of mosquitoes that you were discussing?
Yes.
I guess my concern is that, given the forecast going into at least next week, it looks like it's going to be probably in the high 70s or mid 80s, and with potential rain over the weekend. So I don't think I'm not sure when the first frost usually is. I would say probably late September, early October. But if the current weather pattern holds, we might be looking for like at least another couple of weeks of probably very mosquito friendly weather. So I think we should probably go ahead with it.
Excellent. So I'll pause for one more moment to see if there's any other thoughts from the board. So typically for our meetings, we do public comment at the end of the meeting, but given the nature of this meeting, I would open up the discussion to any members of the public who are present with the request to please keep any comments. Ebony, if you're able to keep a timer for 2 minutes, that we could have any comments from the public before we hold a vote on this as the board. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment on this particular agenda item, the spraying of authorizing the health director to sign the waivers to spray the schools?
Yeah, hey, this is Dennis Morgan. I would just say I'm in favor.
Thank you, Dennis. All right, seeing no other comments from those present, I would entertain a motion from the board to approve the health director to sign the waivers to spray the schools.
I move to approve the authorization of the health director to sign the waivers.
Thank you, Dottie. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Great, and then we'll do a roll call vote. So why don't start with Dottie?
Yes.
Okay, Jim?
I vote to approve.
Okay, Kurt?
Yes, I vote to approve.
Portia, if you're able? Okay, not sure if Portia is still present, so we'll move on. I vote to approve Randy Kring. That's a majority vote from the board. So we approve authorizing signature of the waivers to spray at the schools for mosquitoes. Excellent. All right, so we'll then move on to the next agenda item, which is for any recommendations that the board should provide to the community in regards to closure of outdoor activities. So Melanie, can you speak to this as well?
Yep.
Thank you.
With there's a balance. I guess we're assessing the risk, right, of the presence of positive mosquitoes, the diminishing, hopeful diminishing as the nights get cooler, number of mosquitoes, and the risk for people spending time outdoors and their exposure. What I'm going to recommend to the board at this time is that they encourage everyone to suspend nighttime activities until we get either our risk level changed down to moderate, or we have, a frost or cooler nights, so that's no longer a concern. The second thing that I'm going to recommend is that we work with our community partners and discuss preventative actions for daytime. I don't feel necessarily at this time we need to suspend daytime activities, but I do feel we should precaution everyone to not have, there is still a possibility of mosquito exposure during the daytime. Our mosquito control district superintendent did not recommend that we move with the street by street truck spraying. And so unless we get another case in the area or some other high risk change, I'm not going to suggest that we spray with like trucks around the streets at this time. Is there?
And for discussion for the board, I would just point to information that was circulated with the board before the meeting that Melanie shared with us in regards to what Acton has done. So just again, for the record, Acton, they've been at high risk for Triple E for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Is that right? Okay, because they had a positive case and presumably have obviously mosquitoes that have tested positive as well. So their Board of Health made a consensus opinion that they strongly recommended restriction of outdoor activities from dusk to dawn based on the Department of Public Health recommendations, and that the citizens also take personal precautions throughout the day as recommended by Department of Public Health. So, wearing mosquito repellent, avoiding areas with high prevalence of mosquitoes, but Acton at a high level risk for Triple E. For the last 2 weeks, they have not restricted outdoor activities or mandated that there be no outdoor activities in the evening. Is that correct, Melanie?
They have not mandated it. The schools did it, changed their schedule on their own. And the private community was advised against it. But they did not require anybody to do that.
So it seems logical to me to sort of emulate what Acton has done since they've been in our current situation for the past couple weeks. But again, I'll open the discussion up first to the board if there are any questions or thoughts for discussion.
This is Kurt. I think that makes a lot of sense to follow the recommendation similar to what Acton did. I think one part of it that strikes me is just the severity of the potential risk associated with Triple E. So I think that should be part of the outreach, is to communicate what the risk is.
I agree. This is Portia. The one thing I know that there was a communication effort to suggest doing a reverse 911 call. I think we just want to make sure if we don't mandate anything that we educate the community on the risk, maybe flyers or something like that too, in sort of public spaces.
Okay. I did send out last week through news and notices. I'm curious if any of the board saw all the recommendations. Once Acton went to high, I put out messaging about precautions. And did anybody see those?
Yes.
Yep.
I got them in my email. And for someone who's like following the news and notices, you definitely get everything that you're sending out, Melanie.
Okay.
I just wonder, would it be possible to put like, how we've done FAQs for people and put them at like, the playground in schools. I wonder if we could do that without mandating anything, but just making sure that people who may or may not be getting, whatever our notices are, see them in public places. Maybe even like somewhere like Concord Market, places that people frequent a lot.
I think that's a great idea. I think the Concord Bridge has been helpful. They did put a piece last week. But there's not one single news stream or source that people look at.
Oh yeah, Melanie, I will tell you, everybody I know who's heard about it has been sending me the Concord Bridge article. So that's been super helpful, and they've been like a huge resource.
I'm also wondering if we should post some signs maybe in areas like, that, you know, might be more high risk or, you know, entering parks, that type of area, you know, along the river, or kind of like what we do with White Pond. You know, and Lyme's disease, that kind of thing, just to kind of give people a heads up that there is a warning. Like, what we do with the blue-green algae at White Pond, I mean, like if it was there, we put a warning just to kind of give people a heads up. I think people are more likely to kind of, you know, put bug spray on or throw their, you know, sweatpants on versus shorts or something in dusk. Just a thought.
Excellent. Well, it seems like we've have some good thoughts from the board here. Any other thoughts from the board? Otherwise, I will open to public comment, again, asking for anyone who wishes to speak to please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Anyone from the public with any questions or thoughts or concerns? I see Tony's hand up.
I had a question about what chemical they're using for spraying. I don't think that's been mentioned, so.
Melanie, are you able to answer that?
Sorry, I was working on muting the other person.
Thank you.
Yes, I can. It's called a deltamethrin. It's a synthetic pyrethroid. I can say, am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's low toxicity to humans. It does break down in sunlight, so the month of duration may not be that long in direct sunlight, because UV will break it down. So
that is the information that I had from mosquito control, but thank you for that. So I don't believe this spraying is supposed to be the universal solution. I think it's part of a whole comprehensive risk management, right? I think it's everything from avoiding mosquitoes, using long sleeves and repellent. And that's a hard message, because I don't want to give the false sense of it's all better, right? But I think that's one of the tools.
All right, I see Era Avakian with a hand up.
Yes, I live right near the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, and the section between Powder Mill Road, where I'm at, and Williams Road goes by the Jenny Dugan Swamp. So it occurs to me that might be a good place to put some kind of sign up to let people know about what the risk is.
I think that we can certainly consider that as we kind of come up with a further efforts for public outreach. Melanie, if you're able to make a note of that, or
Yep.
Ebony. Thank you. I see Dennis Morgan hand up.
Yeah, thanks. I run one of the youth sports programs. By necessity, our programs are in the evenings, and I would commend the board on spraying education, but not restrictions. These are kids who lost a year over COVID, and it's important that they're able to continue in their sports.
Excellent. And to that end, I appreciate you being present and hearing all of this, and would hope that you'd be able to disseminate information to your group as well. Wonderful. If there's any other members of the public who wish to comment, if you can put your hand up on Zoom, Okay, I see Jean Griffith.
Hello, hi, thank you. And thank you for holding this and doing this. I live right in front of the football field. I'm very much in favor of the spraying. And my question was, where exactly on the schools are you going to spray? I would certainly suggest spraying right near the football field. Between the field and our property, there's a stream and also a kind of a swampy pond, so that would be a very good place to spray, I would suspect. Thank you.
Melanie, can you speak to that at all?
I can a little bit. I don't know exactly their steps, but I know they're going to spray the perimeter of the fields in the vegetation. So not on where kids actually play, but around the perimeters where the vegetation is higher, where there could possibly, so kind of deter any mosquitoes from entering.
Great, thank you.
They will post signs. There will be signs posted, and they will stand up for 72 hours post. Just so people would be aware of where it happened.
Excellent. So do one more call for any comments from any more public comment. Great. Seeing none. So I would entertain a motion from the board to provide a recommendation to restrict outdoor activities from dusk to dawn based on Department of Public Health recommendations and take precautions during the day, again, as recommended by the Department of Public Health.
I move to make that recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that recommendation.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote. So starting with Dottie.
I approve, make that recommendation.
Jim?
Jim Whalen, I approve.
Excellent. Kurt?
Kurt Herman in favor.
And Portia?
In favor.
Great. And Randy Kring in favor. So unanimous vote there. Thank you all for attending and for that good discussion. I see Terry Ackerman has her hand up. You'd like to go ahead, Terry?
Thank you. Thank you to the members of the Board of Health for meeting on a Saturday night. This is unusual, and thank you for your service. This is great. I wanted to know what was the exact wording of that vote? Are you recommending the restriction or mandating? I didn't quite get the wording there.
Yes, strongly recommend.
Okay, strongly recommend curtailing activities from dusk to dawn.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, well, that will conclude the agenda for this evening. Again, to echo what Terry said, thank you to the board and especially to Melanie and Ebony for doing a lot of work over the past couple days to get us to this point. I think we have a good plan for addressing this going forward, and can't wait for frost. So thank you all. That will I'll now entertain a motion to conclude the meeting for this evening.
I move to close the meeting.
And may I have a second?
Second motion to end the meeting.
Okay. And one more time for a roll call vote. Since we're on Zoom, Dottie?
Yep. Yep. I move to close the meeting.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, sorry, I vote to close the meeting.
We have a hand up, Dr. Kring, Dennis Morgan. I'm not sure if it's closed. Public comment is closed.
Dennis, if you have something to add briefly, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought the recommendation was to make recommendations, but not to curtail evening activities. Did that switch somewhere along the way here?
The verbiage was that we strongly recommend restriction of outdoor activities from dusk to dawn based on Department of Public Health recommendations.
But you're not actually going to make the restrictions.
There is no mandate. There is
Okay,
a strong recommendation.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yep. right, so proceeding with the, so Dottie, moved to end the meeting, Jim,
Yes, I move to end the meeting.
thank you. Kurt,
I'm in favor.
okay, and Portia? I think that was a yes, and I move to end the meeting. All right, and with that, we will conclude the meeting for this evening. Thank you again all for attending on a Saturday evening, and hope you have a nice weekend.